Genesis 37. If you're taking notes, the title today is The Dream Master. As you turn there, I don't know how many of you have ever seen the original, the good one, the Willy Wonka, Gene Wilder. You know, you see that, and at least me, when I first watched it, I had a different idea when it first started out. You know, Charlie's there, and he's poor, and both grandparents are sleeping in the bed, you know, both sets, and they're all talking about everything. And it just, you're like, man, what a sad situation, right? And then as time goes on a little bit, then the golden tickets come out, and he wants one, and you're rooting for him. And then he jokes, he goes, I found it, they're all happy, and he's like, not really. And we're like, dude, right? And then, lo and behold, out of nowhere, he ends up finding that golden ticket, and he ends up going, and we're excited. But he goes through all these adventures in the midst of it as he's there at, Wonka's factory. And at the very end, at the very, very end of it all, after he's been through so much, and I thought he was going to get kicked out because he went up the fizzy whatever thing and had to burp to come down with Grandpa. I thought he was done, right? But he's not. At the very end, he gives that gobstopper back to Willy Wonka, and he just holds it. And then he tells him at the very end, he says, Charlie, he gives him the whole thing, and he says, Charlie, do you know what happens to the boy who got everything he wanted, right? And he says, no, what? He says, he lived happily ever after. And I thought, wow, that's kind of us. We go through so much stuff, and we know we're children of God, and we know that we have heaven before us, and we know that He promises to meet our need. We know all these things, but along the way, there's all these mess-ups that we go through, and there's all these weird people that we experience, whether it's the blueberry-eating girl or whatever it was. We end up going through all this. And at the very end, we're like, oh, Lord, in the midst of all that, you blessed me. And I get all of this. But we had to go through all that to get there. It's not how we imagined it would be necessarily, but it was how it was supposed to be. And that's how I look at the life of Joseph. He had these dreams that God showed him something. And I would have been like, well, give me the straightest line to get there, to where I'm supposed to be, to where these things are supposed to happen. But it doesn't happen that way. And sometimes when that happens to us as Christians, when we don't get what we think we should be getting or know what we're promised and it doesn't materialize immediately, we get discouraged and we want to quit. Well, don't. With that little bit in mind, let's look at the first few verses here. I'm going to go through the whole chapter today, Lord willing, Genesis 37, so buckle up, yeah? Verses 1 through 4, it says, So Jacob dwelt in the land in which his father had been a stranger and a sojourner in the land of Canaan. And this is the history of the descendants of Jacob, and this is Jacob's line. Joseph, when he was 17 years old, was shepherding the flock with his brothers, and the lad with the sons of Bilhah and Zilpah, his father's wives, or secondary wives, concubines, whatever. And Joseph brought to his father a bad report of them. Now Israel loved Joseph more than all his children because he was the son of his old age. And he made him a distinctive long tunic with sleeves. But his brothers saw that their father loved Joseph more than all his brothers, and they hated him and could not say peace or give him a friendly greeting. They couldn't see him or speak to him peaceably, it says. So in these next 13 chapters, as we finish the book of Genesis, we're going to get a glimpse into what I believe is just the greatness of the God of the Bible, who speaks the verse of Isaiah 55, 8 and 9. Isaiah 55, 8 and 9, God says, For my thoughts are not your thoughts, neither are my ways your ways, declares the Lord. As the heavens are higher than the earth, so are my ways higher than your ways, and my thoughts than your thoughts. Getting to where He wants us to be is like, I forgot what it's called, the Space Mountain at Disneyland. You're on that, it's dark, and it just goes. You don't know when the turn's going to happen. It just hits. Right? And if you're not ready, you're going to feel it once you get off the ride. But that's how things go in our lives. It moves, and we don't know what's going to come next. All we know is that whoever is in charge, which is God, is going to lead us through and get us to there safely. So here's what we have. As we saw Isaiah 55, 8, and 9, we see God's wisdom, and that his wisdom is infinitely above ours. Okay? It also emphasizes that he has control over everything, and it reveals how different his ways are than ours. We like things easy. Most of us. We do. We like it easy. I mean, how many times do you get, or do you see or read or across the TV, lose 50 pounds overnight, take one magic pill, 2 gummies and a soda, and you're fine. And it's like, yeah, it doesn't work like that, right? But there's some of us, I'll take 4 bottles, please. Right? We want it easy, but there's work that's got to go into it. There's a lot of people today that teach that when we become Christians, that your life magically is transformed in the sense that you are now on easy street. That's where you are. Easy street. No more pain, no more sorrow, no anguish, only a cornucopia of blessings. That's it. Everything is going to be good. It's all coming up roses now. It's all going to go my way because I am a Christian. I know God's plan for me. It is to be in heaven, to reign and rule with him forever. It's going to be great. As much as I wish I could guarantee you those things, I need to refer us back to Isaiah 55, 8, and 9. My thoughts are not your thoughts, neither are your ways my ways, declares the Lord. As the heavens are higher than the earth, so my ways are higher than your ways, and my thoughts than your thoughts. So as we go through these next 13 chapters together, our unbiblical beliefs are going to be destroyed. Our self-centered theology is going to be exposed, and the truth of God is going to be revealed. That's what's going to happen in these next few weeks together. Verse 1 of Genesis 37. So Jacob dwelt in the land which his father had been a stranger and a sojourner in the land of Canaan. So it starts out here, we see that Jacob is in Canaan, where he should be, but he's called the sojourner. And what that means is he's like his forefathers, like Abraham and Isaac. He's a man who lived at this location, and living there, he was completely dependent upon the grace and mercy of God for his daily provisions and his protection. He was a nomad. He was traveling out there, but God was taking care of him, and that's who he was depending on. And that's how we should be. We're just passing through here. This isn't home. And everything else that he needed to be able to continue to survive and to exist, he was depending on God for it. That's how he was living, day to day, depending on God. My prayer is that you and I will learn to live like this. Folks, we're passing through. This isn't home. And we get so caught up on really insignificant things. Oh, I wish I had whatever it was, the latest iPhone. And then another version comes out, right? And some of us, and I'm generalizing, once the new one comes out, this one's no good anymore. Works just fine. No, that's 17X, and I've only got 17Y or whatever. When we start making, it doesn't sound the same. Something's rattling inside. No, you just want the other one. We're not happy with anything, but we need to learn to just trust God to provide what we need. Right? He says to provide all of our necessities, not all of our niceties. Right? In verse 2, it goes on, it says, this is the history of the descendants of Jacob and of Jacob's line. Excuse me. Joseph, when he was 17 years old, so he is that teenager, young adult, right? This young man. Guys, remember when you were 17 years old and how you thought you knew everything, but in reality you were just a lost pup. but you thought you had it all down, right? So here he is, this young man, and he was shepherding the flock with his brothers, and the lad with his brothers were the sons of the wives of Bilhah and Zilpah. And then he brings his father a bad report. This is our introduction to Joseph. Thank you. This is our introduction to Joseph. He's 17 years old, a young man. He was a shepherd, or at least helping his brothers shepherd their dad's flocks. But here's the thing. The first act that he does is he snitches out his older brothers to his dad. First thing we see, he goes back, gives his dad a bad report on his brothers, right? I was an older brother. I'm an older brother. And my younger brother was good for that. Dad, he did this, he did that, he did. You want to hang out with me? No, go away. Why? Because whatever I was going to do, I don't want you to tell. I was the older brother. I didn't want to get in trouble. But that's what the younger brother did. Something else we see here is that he was his dad's favorite. We're told that was because he was the son of his old age. And we also see that Jacob, the dad, he had no problem showing his favoritism. None at all. We see this when he gives his son this long tunic with sleeves. And some say it was multicolored. Some say that it had sleeves because it shows his importance, and it was usually used by people that were of great wealth, and they would put their important papers in the sleeves. There's different ideas behind it. Either way, it was something that the rest of the guys did not have, and he did. Okay? Wow. Something that I think we need to be real honest about here right now is acknowledging the fact that showing parental favoritism, that's dangerous, man. That causes problems. Okay? Oh, I mean, it does matter. And they can tell. Okay, they can. And they'll tell you, oh, I know, he's your favorite, whatever. They'll tell you. And here's the thing. It affects the family, and the way it's written here, there's no doubt about it. His brothers couldn't stand him. Could not stand him. You ever see a group like that? Maybe a family or friends put all together. There's that one person who just hangs out, and you're like, the only reason that we're playing baseball with you right now is because you own the ball and the bat and the mitts, and otherwise you wouldn't be playing. And that's because we're playing in your yard. Otherwise you wouldn't be here, right? They can't stand the guy, but he's got all the stuff. Here, they just could not stand their little brother because of how he was. The verse literally says they couldn't speak to him civilly or politely or using a nice greeting. And morning, bro. No, none of that. It just was not going to happen with him. These guys were not believers in the fake it till you make it. No, I don't like you. That's it. And I don't care who knows. You're getting on my nerves, little brother. That's what it was there. They didn't stand him, and everybody knew it. So for us as parents and grandparents, we need to make it a point that we'll not be the ones that cause division between our children by showing some kind of favoritism. It causes divisions in the home. Believe it or not, like it or not, really doesn't matter. That's just the fact. Verse 5, the first dream. Now Joseph had a dream, and he told it to his brothers, and they hated him even more. How cool is that? He has a dream. God shows him something, and he's like, guys, listen. And they're like, we hate you. We hate you. Okay? And he said to them, listen now, and here I pray you the dream that I have dreamed. And we brothers were binding sheaves in the field, and behold, my sheaf arose and stood upright, and behold, your sheaf stood around my sheaf and bowed down. His brother said to him, shall you indeed reign over us, or are you going to have us as your subjects and dominate us? And they hated him all the more for his dreams and for what he said. Again, they repeat that twice in this section. So two things are going on here. He's excited about his dream, but I also think that, again, having at one time been not that long ago a 17-year-old boy, you want to rub people's nose and stuff. Look what I'm doing. Look what I did. There's something, and again, that's just my thought. I'm sure he was a good guy, a good kid, but there's something about just our human nature where pride jumps in. So here what he does is he wants to share it. He's excited about it, but it's like, hey, and I'm the boss. I'm the big guy in my dream. But one thing I know for sure, even though those I can't be positive about, I know that the moment they heard the dream, they hated him even more because of it. Guys, I had a dream and this is it. And they're like, yeah, we hate you. That's all that it was. That's how quickly it came about. You got to hear the dream I just had. And I looked at different versions, and I like the way this one explains it. Here's the dream. How would you feel being older brother to this kid? And he runs up to you and says, guys, here's my dream. We're all working in the field. We're tying stacks of wheat together. Then my stack, it just got up. And it stood there. And all the other stacks of wheat, you all made a circle around mine, and you bowed down to mine. Isn't that a cool dream? And they're like, yeah, I hate you. That's what happened. Again, in my mind's eye, the way I picture this, I can see their faces. They were like, had a dream, yeah, and you were about. Everybody's brow just kind of furrowed up. Everybody's like, yeah. I'm furious with it. How dare you say these things? The disbelief that must have been running through their heads and asking, who does this kid think he is? The only thing that's a dream here is that he's working with us in the field. He doesn't work. He's Dad's favorite. The guy doesn't even sweat. Somebody's got to thump this kid. This isn't right. We're going to bow down to you. Little brother, right? They're just all going through this. In verse 8, his brother said to him, shall we indeed you reign over us? Or are you going to have us as your subjects and dominate us? And they hated him all the more for his dreams and for what he said. So are you crazy, Joseph? You really think we're going to bow down to you? You rule over us? That will be the day. Hey, they were not having it at all. Again, and once they heard this, they hated him even more. Folks, God speaks to us. I get that. And if he decides to bless you with a dream or a vision or a prophecy, understand there's a time and a place to share those things. And there's a right way to do it and a wrong way to do it. With that understood, it's important and it's easy to see that we need to be asking God for discernment and understanding as to when and how we're supposed to say what he's revealed to us through a dream or a vision or a prophecy. Some people, God shows them something and they just blast it out, and the Lord says, hold on. Or he says, don't say anything right now. Or say it now. Or this is just for you. I think those are the hardest ones to keep, right? Okay. In verses 9 through 11, he has a second dream. He says, but Joseph dreamed yet another dream and told it to his brothers. And he said, see here, I've dreamed again. Behold, this time not only 11 stars, but also the sun and the moon bowed down to him, did reverence to me. And he told it to his father as well as his brothers. And his father rebuked him and said to him, what is the meaning of this dream that you've dreamed? Shall I and your mom and your brothers actually come and bow down ourselves to the earth and do homage to you? Joseph's brothers envied him and were jealous of him, but his father observed the saying and he pondered over it. So here's what happens now with dream number 2. And I for myself, I put on my notes, believe it or not, the situation gets worse. Okay? Joseph tells the second dream, guys, I just had another dream, and I know how much you like the last one. So let me share this one with you. This time I saw the sun, the moon, and all this, and these 11 stars were all bowing down to me. How would you feel, Mom, Dad, if that's your child that tells you that? Think about that. 17 years old, full of himself. Okay? I'm not saying he was a bad kid. I'm just saying 17-year. I know how spunky a 17-year-old boy can be. How almost disrespectful and full of themselves they can get. How arrogant and how self-assured they are. Right? So guys, you got to hear this. I'm gonna share it with you. And the sun, and there's 11 stars bowing to me, but then I saw the sun and the moon, and they were bowing to me too. I am something special. And they were not having it. And I love the way verse 10 is worded, because what it lets us see there is that when his dad heard this, when Jacob heard this, the idea is that he gave him a really brutal tongue lashing. He didn't just go, now, consider your brother's feelings. No, it's one of those, listen, young man, you better learn your role and learn your place, and you better not be talking. He let him have it, that's what it's saying here. You don't talk to me and your mom and your brothers this way. He was letting him have it. Okay? But verse 11 says, Joseph's brothers envied him, and they were jealous of him, but his father observed the sayings and pondered over it. So here we see how the dreams affected everybody there. The brothers envied it and they were jealous. Now, what this talks about, this envy is like an intense jealousy about his brothers towards him. So it was most likely due to the fact that dad showed favoritism towards him. Right? As humans, we know what that's like. When somebody's getting preferential treatment, we don't like them so much. Maybe you've matured beyond that, but I don't like that. I'm like, why are they getting treated special? What, we've done the same thing, done the same work, doing the same whatever, and I'm getting treated like I don't matter. So the jealousy could have been there. And also, I would think that hearing the dreams, they're going, he's going to be better than us, superior to us, rule over us? Yeah, no. I'm not having that. No. So they were envious of him. He's having dreams about greatness, and we're not even dreaming. We're just here, right? Gathering sheaves of wheat and shepherding dad's flocks, but we don't see any greatness for us. When they became jealous in a human context, and speaking of human emotions, it talks about a resentment or even a hostility towards him, because they feel that he has an advantage or a privilege that they want for themselves. I want that. I want to see myself as somebody ruling over the family, ruling over, everything that's going on. I want to see myself there. So they envied that they just didn't have that. They didn't see that. Right? Have you ever sat with someone or talked with somebody and you're like, and there's an envy, and it's not a good thing, but we're like, man, I wish I could be like that guy. I wish I could do what he does or have what he has, but I don't want to put in the work, the effort, the prayer, the study, the whatever it is that's going to get me there, but I just want it. It's almost a coveting. We want something that isn't ours, that we haven't earned. That's where they were at. And their jealousy. In case we missed it, these feelings, these emotions, they're not good and they're not healthy to have. We need to watch ourselves when it comes to these things, because it's easy to feel that way, even in a close-knit family or a church or work. It's easy to feel that way. Remember who you represent. Remember whose you are. Our emotions, our feelings need to be governed by God, right? By His Word, not the circumstance, but by God. Jacob, the dad, it says that he observed and he pondered them. So he's paying close attention to what he said. He let him have it. Boy, don't you be talking that way to me about your mama. Don't do that. But it still stuck with him. He still thought about these things. He paid close attention. And from time to time, the idea is he would go, yeah, he said that he saw his brothers all bowing down to him. And I don't see it around here. They're picking on him all day, so that ain't going to happen. And him and his mom were mad at him right now because, he didn't do this or that. And so he would just ponder what was going on, just kind of what was said. That, well, the pondering means that he gave deep thought to it. What does it really mean? Why did he have this dream? Was God really showing my son something? Has anyone ever talked to you and said something and you just, for whatever reason, go, that was kind of deep. I wonder if that really means something, right? That's kind of where he's at, just considering, could it be true? Might this really happen? That's all it says it happened there with him. In verse 12, it says, Joseph's brothers went to shepherd and feed their flock near Shechem. And one day Israel said to Joseph, do not your brothers shepherd my flock at Shechem? Come, and I will send you to them. And he said, here I am. And Jacob said to him, go, and I pray and see whether everything is all right with your brothers in the flock, and then come back and bring word to me. So he sent him on his way to the Hebron Valley, and he came to Shechem, and a certain man found him, and behold, he was lost on his way and was wandering in the open country. And the man asked him, what are you trying to find? He said, I'm looking for my brothers. Tell me, I pray you, where are they pasturing our flocks? But the man said, they were here, but they've gone. I heard them say, let's go to Dothan. And Joseph went after his brothers, and he found them at Dothan. So in these verses here, Dad says, hey, go check on your brothers and come back and give me a report. How are they doing? Are they okay? Do they have everything they're supposed to have? And he's like, yeah, sure, Dad, I'll go. But I find it funny that as he gets out there, the first thing he does is he gets lost. Right? He's like, I'm going, yeah. Have you ever got lost? I have. Okay? You walk around, you're like, and you don't want to look panicked, especially when you're like when I'm with my wife, I can be as lost can be, but I will not look panicked. But it's fine. I'm just going a little scenic route. We're good. One of our first dates, we were driving around and I got lost. But I was looking at the gas meter going, please don't. We were close to going out of gas. But we made it. I knew what I was doing. But that's the thing here. He was lost, did not know where he was going. And I'm sure when you're by yourself, you're like, dude, I am so lost. When you're by yourself, you can be super honest that way. And I don't know, it doesn't say that he prayed, but I think he might have shot up a prayer. And this guy just shows up and says, and again, how I pictured, hey there, buddy. Yes, sir. Where are you going? I don't know. Looking for my brothers. You look lost. Maybe a little. Who are you looking for? My brothers. They were here. They were going to shepherd the sheep. And yeah, okay. They're going to go down there. Okay, thanks. And it doesn't say this anywhere, but I'm going, could you point me in that direction? Could you show me where I'm going to have to go to find them? Oh, yeah, it's thank you. And then there he goes. He heads towards Dothan. Verse 18, and when they saw him far off, now this is the part where it really starts to show you how ugly that envy and that jealousy is, something that their dad was nurturing in these boys, okay, that they could see it. It says, and when they saw him, when they saw Joseph afar off, even before he came near to them, they conspired to kill him. And they said to one another, see, here comes the dreamer, the master of dreams. So come on now, let us kill him and throw his body into some pit. Then we will say to our father, some wild and ferocious animal has devoured him, and we shall see what will become of the dreams. Now Reuben heard of it and delivered him out of their hands by saying, let's not kill him. Reuben said to them, shed no blood, but cast him into this pit or this well that is out here in the wilderness and lay no hand on him. He was trying to get Joseph out of their hands in order to rescue him and deliver him again to his father. And when Joseph had come to his brothers, they stripped him of his long garment, which he was wearing, and they took him and they cast him into this well-like pit, which was empty. There was no water in it. So again, like we saw earlier in like verse 5 and I think 8, it says that they hated him. And now we see this being expressed in actions. As soon as they saw him at a distance, they started thinking, how are we going to kill this guy? How bad was it at home? Think about it. As soon as they saw him afar off, they began to conspire amongst themselves. How can we kill him? And they even had that nickname for him. How do we get rid of the dream master, guys? How do we get rid of him? We'll see what comes of his dreams. In verses 21 and 22, Reuben says, look, let's not have his blood on our hands. Let's just put him in this empty pit right here and just let him die there. He was the older brother. Let's not do that. Let's do this instead. And they're like, yeah, okay, whatever. As long as he dies, we don't really care. So they just toss him in that well, in that pit. See, but the reason Reuben did that was because he wanted to go back later and save him. That's where his heart was. He knew that it wasn't right. But here's the thing. I looked at verses 23 and 24 when he shows up in that long garment. I see that Joseph wasn't really helping matters or really his cause in any way by showing up in those fancy clothes. He shows up with his long sleeves and, I am here on a mission from Father, right? That kind of a thing. I don't come to work with you guys. I don't come to help. I'm not coming to, to do something for the sheep. I come to see what is happening among the common folk. And I will go back to Dad and tell him. That was it. That's what he was doing. But here's the thing. As soon as he gets within arm's reach, they get a hold of him. They strip him of his fancy robe. And they throw him in this well so that he can die. That's what they do. Something I want us to be very aware of right now is that despite all of this human evil and suffering that's experienced by Joseph, and we're going to see a lot more coming in the coming chapters, as Joseph's story continues to develop, we're going to see God's sovereignty becoming more and more evident in Joseph's life. We're going to see those dreams he had at the beginning of the bowing sheaths and the sun and the moon and the stars all bowing to him. We're going to see how that just starts to develop, but it's going to take a bit. But don't forget these dreams. We're going to see how God revealed it to them from the beginning, right? Somebody's going to get that golden ticket, and we're just waiting to see who it's going to be. We know it should be this guy, but how is it going to happen? That's what's happening here right now. 24, then they took him and cast him into a well-like pit, which was empty. There was no water in it. Okay, we're like, okay, they tossed him in here. But here's where we start to see just how cold-blooded these guys are. Okay, 25. Then they sat down to eat their lunch. That's what it says. Where is he? The dreamer, right there. You got him? I got him. Rip off his clothes. Okay, what else? Throw him in the pit. Okay, what do you want to do? I'm hungry. Me too. Okay. That's what happened. That's the story. That's what they did. And when they looked up, behold, they saw a caravan of Ishmaelites and the mixed Arabian group of people coming from Gilead with their camels bearing gum and balm and myrrh and ladonum, going on their way to carry them down to Egypt. And Judah said to his brothers, what do we gain if we slay our brother and conceal his blood? Come, let us sell him to the Ishmaelites, and let not our hand be upon him, for he's our brother in our flesh. And his brothers consented. Then the Midianites and the merchants were passing by. The brothers pulled Joseph up and lifted him out of the well, and they sold him for 20 pieces of silver to the Ishmaelites who took Joseph captive into Egypt. So again, they're just a cold-blooded group of brothers. That's who they are. Again, right after they toss him into the well, and I'm sure that he is screaming, they just sat down and had lunch. I don't know if you've ever been that scared of dying. When I was 18, going out in the military, I was trained as a firefighter rescueman in basic, and I ended up going to my base in Germany. And one of the ways they initiated you was to just scare you beyond belief. What they did to me, they had done to all these other guys, and I did it to other guys after me. They had one door that would go down, and then they had this wood block. And it would hit this wood block, but it didn't have a safety switch on it. So it would start crushing, just making a divot into this piece of wood. So I saw that at 18, and I was going, whoa, man, those doors are heavy. They're strong. So, of course, what do all my fellow firefighters do? Well, of course, they grab me. And they pull me. And they put me under the door next to that door. And they hit the button. I yelled like a man. Ah, right, like Braveheart. No, stop, right? I was trying to kick and go. I weighed about $130, maybe, like 130 pounds. So that was a while ago, but that's where I was at. They're holding me. I'm trying to fight, and I am trying to fight. I am spitting. I am trying to bite. I am anything. And they hold me under this door as the door comes down. And then the door taps me and goes right back up. I almost cried. I cried. I was like, okay, I'm not going to die. But then my next thought was, I'm going to kill all of you. Right? That's what happened. So I see him being so scared, screaming, help me, don't do this to me. What did I do? Why? I'm one of you. This brotherhood. Why? How? They do that to him. They throw him in there, and then they just sit down and they eat. How ugly, how callous. How inhuman was that? But that's how they treated him. You want to get even with guys like that. The only thing that keeps you from not doing that is God, or really strict laws that you're afraid to break. But here's what happened. These guys, there's a change of heart. One of the verses says, let's not kill him. Let's not put our hands on him. Let's sell him. Right? We shouldn't do that. He's one of us. And the other guys are like, yeah, let's sell him. That's a good idea. Either way, he's gone. Right? Bye-bye, dreamer. So that's what they did. But it really wasn't a change of heart. What it was is it was just greed. Plain and simple. If we're going to get rid of him, we can make like 20 pieces of silver on the kid. Let's do that instead. He'll be gone. They're taking him to Egypt. I mean, he got lost in Dothan. There's no way he's going to find his way home from Egypt. So let him go. So they sold him. They took the money. It was greed. It wasn't that they loved their brother. You know what's sad is that in a lot of places, a lot of churches, a lot of fellowships, a lot of families, people are like that. It's like, oh, well, we're not going to do the bad thing to them. Let's do this instead. Why? Because it's more beneficial for me. It's not really love. It's just selfishness. That's all it is. This is what they agreed to and why. What do we gain if we slay our brother and conceal his blood? Let's sell him to the Ishmaelites. And his brothers consented. And they sold him for 20 pieces of silver to the Ishmaelites, who took him captive into Egypt. Now here's the thing. Remember the dream that he had, the two dreams that he had. They said they would be bowing down to Joseph. Nobody was bowing down to Joseph. If they were, it was just to bow over to pull him out of the pit, but not out of worship. You showed me this dream, God. You told me that things were going to be like this and that you promised me that and that would be the other. And I'm just getting beat here. I feel like I'm dying. Everybody's against me. The people are supposed to love me can't stand me. That's where he finds himself right now. Now, as we read this and we go through the rest of his life here in these chapters coming up, And I agree with the idea that Joseph is a type of Christ in his suffering unjustly and how he's exalted later, and all that prefigures Jesus, his suffering, his death, his resurrection. But something I want us to be very careful of when we read Scripture. Let's not overemphasize or try to force these types to fit into things that they aren't meant to fit into. They're trying to massage the narrative to be something or say something that it's not saying. Not everything is going to say, well, it has to fit. No. It says he's hungry. Maybe it's because he was hungry. That's all it is. So, just let's be careful with those things. So while I may use these types and bring them up from time to time, I don't depend on them as much as we need to depend on what the Scripture plainly says. Okay? Because you can go way down some crazy rabbit trail if all you do is chase the types. Okay? A lot of different ideas there. Not that they're all bad, but they're not all good either. Okay? So we need some discernment there. 29 and 30. Then Reuben, who had not been there while the brothers plotted to sell the lad, they returned to the pit, and behold, Joseph was not in the pit. And he tore his clothes, and he rejoined his brothers and said, the boy is not there, and where shall I go to hide from my father? So he shows up thinking, okay, everything's gone. We're going to leave now. They don't seem as upset, so let me go get little Joe. So there he goes, and he's not there. Have you ever been responsible to watch a child and lose them? I have. I told you, my son, the youngest one, mom's favorite. No, right? I just lost him. And it's bad. One time, and I can give you a lot of these stories because I've lost Elijah a lot. I'm not proud of it, but I have. One time I was coming home. I was leaving my in-laws, and I'm driving, and I don't have Elijah in my back seat. And we have this thing on our phone so we can track each other, right? So Tina's like, "You coming home?" I'm like, "Yeah." And then that was the text before I left. And as I'm driving, then I get a call from my brother-in-law. And Phil says, "Hey, you forget something?" I'm like, "No, what?" "I don't know, Lige." "Oh, yeah, hold on." And the next words out of my mouth, no lie, "Do not call Tina." I hadn't finished saying that when Phil called Tina. "Hey, honey, where are you?" "Oh, I'm on my way home." "Well, the thing shows you're turning around, going back to my mom's." "Oh, yeah, it's okay. I forgot. I'll be, yeah." I don't know what to say, man. But again, it was that panic of, oh my gosh, I lost this kid again. Right? How do I explain this? How, right? God, the people that I trusted told on me. He could have taken care of him and said, we could have made a good lie. But no. That's where he's at right now. Where are you? Where? And then he says, how am I going to explain this to Dad? That's what he says. And where shall I go? I mean, to hide from my father. I am gonna have to answer for this. I am the oldest son. He was my responsibility. What am I going to do? That's what's going through his head right now. Hey, how do I escape Dad's wrath? 31 down to the end. Then they took Joseph's long garment and they killed a young goat, dipped the garment in blood, and they sent the garment to their father. And they said, we found this. Examine and decide whether it's your son's tunic or not. And he said, my son's long garment. An evil wild beast has devoured him. Joseph is without a doubt rent in pieces. Jacob tore his clothes. He put on sackcloth, and he mourned many days for his son. And all his sons and daughters attempted to console him, but he refused to be comforted. And he said, I will go down to Sheol, that is the place of the dead, to my son mourning. And his father wept for him. And the Midianites and the Ishmaelites sold Joseph in Egypt to Potiphar, an officer of Pharaoh. and the captain and chief executioner of the royal guard. So for those verses, the first thing they said is, okay, guys, we need a plan. We're going to go back. We're going to see Dad. We know he's his favorite. I mean, all of us hate him. We all agree on that. We were going to kill him. We said no. We made 20 shekels on him. So we all divvied it up here. It's good. But we need to tell Dad something. We just can't say, we sold your favorite kid. That's not going to work. So what are we going to do? So they all get together and they come up with this plan. Okay. We got the rope, right? Yeah, okay, great. Okay, let's kill a goat. Yeah, let's dip it in the blood. Yeah, let's put some slices in it too. Yeah, okay. Let's puncture wounds. Yeah, like teeth. Yeah. And then we'll take it to Dad. So this is what they're doing. They needed a plan, and they were heartless about it. They were brutal. Kill the goat, take his robe, dip it in blood. And I think the whole way home, they are practicing their speech, like the prodigal son kind of thing, the way they did that. How are we going to tell Dad? Well, I'm going to say this. Well, yeah, you don't sound like broken up enough about it. Okay, how's this? Right? I just see these brothers working out this plan to deceive their father. So they go and they go and they tell him, and it's like, hey, Dad, we're back. God has been so good to us. And we know that the Dream Master, we know he's your favorite. I mean, come on, we all know he's a great kid, Dad. But Dad, we need your help right now. You see, we found this garment by one of our dead baby goats. And that goat, Dad, it was bad. It was an ugly scene. It was gruesome, Dad. We're wondering, do you recognize this like jacket thing here, Dad? Right? Think about that. That's the plan they had. That's the plan they went with. That's how they went to their dad. Your dad. And this is the part where if you're watching it on TV, it's like commercial, right? But the dad gets and looks at it and he goes, Joseph's? That's where he's at. So the plan had worked. Now Israel, he's 100% positive that Joseph is dead. So as far as the brothers are concerned, we're scot-free. The kid's gone. The dreamer's gone. Dad thinks he's dead. He's not going to look for him. We got rid of him, man. Problem solved, and we got change in our pocket. This is a good day for us. That's where they're at. A wild beast tore him apart. And then Israel tears his clothes and he puts on sackcloth. So he grieves for this. He's broken over this. Folks, when one of our brothers falls, gets lost, we should be broken over that. We shouldn't be rejoicing like the other brothers were, the bad brothers were. It should break our hearts. There's a song, I forgot who sings it, but it says, once a true believer, once there was a fire in your soul. You were the epitome of blessed faith astir. Right? And there's times that people that we fellowship with, that we've grown with in the Lord, leave. I had a testimony shared not too long ago by somebody that said they had a friend who was a well-respected pastor. And he asked him, why did you do this? Why did you leave all of this? And his comment was, I just got tired of being that guy. And the person that was speaking says, or maybe you never were that guy. It should break us when one of us falls. When one of us falls into sin, when one of us deviates off the path. It should break our hearts. And we should be praying for them. And we should mourn for them till the day we die. Lord, bring them back. So, these heartless guys, they sell him. Even though they knew he was alive and they could have taken away their dad's grief, they were committed to their lie. They were going to see it through to the end. Be careful what you commit yourselves to. To be watchful. Sometimes we get involved in things and we're doing them and we're like, well, I got to see it through. But it's wrong. Yeah, but I gave my word. You gave your word to God first. You would do his will. You would honor and respect him. No, you need to get out of that. Now, I've sat with people that have been in the throes of adultery, and then you ask them, hey, you need to stop what you're doing. And then the comment is, well, but it could hurt that other person's feelings. What? Your commitment, your vow, your life says you're a Christian and you should be faithful to your spouse and not worry about that other person. But sometimes we do that. Careful what you commit yourself to. And remember that your primary commitment is to the Lord. Israel's heartbroken, and his response to their comforting, right? The brothers knew what they did. They knew what they did. The sister, Dinah and the others, I don't know, but having 2 sons and a daughter, they share pretty much everything. So I think the sisters may have known, but even if they didn't, and they were sincerely going to try and comfort their dad, because daughters do that, they comfort their dads and their moms, right? So as they're doing this, the sons knew what was going on. Zero respect for these guys right now, folks. Oh, Dad, what's wrong? Dad, what can we do to help you? How about you bring back my son that you're lying about, that you guys sold? How about that? No. What can we do? We know it must be hard. We feel it too, Dad. We're right. All these lies that they're saying to try and comfort him. And this poor old man, what does he do? Get away from me. I'm going to die with this pain in my heart. That's it. That's what's going to happen to me. This was my beloved little Joseph here, and he's dead. He's gone. Something devoured him, and just go away. Just let me grieve alone. Okay, Dad, but if you need something, we're here. We're here for you, Dad. How heartless. How unmanly. Just go away. He leaves, or they leave, and he just keeps crying. But I love verse 36. Because it opens us up to a whole new, just awesome experience. It's like next chapter in Willy Wonka. Right? What happens? It says, and the Midianites sold Joseph in Egypt to Potiphar, an officer and captain and chief executioner of the royal guard. Potiphar was part of Pharaoh's, his cabinet, his elite board, right? He was part of the C-suite. He was one of the main guys. But he wasn't just a guy, or just kind of an important guy. He was the captain and chief executioner of the royal guard. When heads rolled, he rolled them. He would be like, I'm in charge of the SEALs, I'm in charge of the prison, I'm in charge of the executioners, I am that guy. It was important. He was taking care of Pharaoh. This is an important guy here, and that's who they sold him to. And again, remember, I had these dreams, guys. And my sheath was there, and yours were there, and all of yours bowed to mine. And then I had another dream. These 11 stars and the sun and the moon, they were all bowing to me. And the Midianites sold Joseph in Egypt to Potiphar, an officer of Pharaoh and the captain and chief executioner of the royal guard. This is not fitting in the dream or the dreams that I've had. This is not the path I think it was supposed to be taking. They're supposed to be bowing to me. sold me. They left me for dead. I'm supposed to rule over them. God, this is not, it's not following script here. For my thoughts are not your thoughts. Neither are your ways my ways, declares the Lord. As the heavens are higher than the earth, so are my ways higher than your ways, and my thoughts than your thoughts. We need to trust in Jesus.